What's up, Crumbleheads? I'm Devon Porter, the author of After the Crumble. And this is the first video blog that I've done where I can actually hold it in my hands. And it's been amazing. It's been out for a couple months now. And you guys have been wonderful. So I want to say thank you, first of all, to all the Crumbleheads. And the emails have been great that you sent, and the reviews on Amazon have been great as well. So, and if you have not done a review, please do. It helps to promote the book and all of that. So I really appreciate that. And of course, if you have not read it, you got to get a copy. Available on Amazon. So, I've been talking to some of the people that have read the book, and a common question that they've asked fairly often is, okay, I finished the book. What do I do now? I was maybe woken up a little bit, and it's got me started thinking about the crumble and the fact that it's happening to us right now. So, if you were starting today, what would you do to prepare for the crumble? And I had a great friend who I had lunch with him the other day, and he asked me that same question. And I gave him a terrible, sort of garbled answer because he put me on the spot, and I hadn't had time to think about it. But so this is for you, Tony. Hopefully this answer is a little better than the one I gave you the other day. But in order to prepare for the crumble, I think the first thing that we want to do is sort of situate our thinking in the right way. Preparing for a fast collapse versus preparing for a slow collapse are two very different things. And there's a lot of people out there, and there's a lot of information out there about how to prepare for a fast collapse. People that talk about EMPs and the Yellowstone volcano and the New Madrid fault line. There's a lot of things. Our society, our civilization is very fragile, and it is possible that something could happen quickly. And I think it's smart to be prepared for that. I've tried to be prepared for that myself. But I think there's a high probability that one of those civilization-ending events probably will not happen. Like I said, we should be prepared if it does. But if that does not happen, then the crumble is what we're dealing with. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. And the first thing that I want to talk about with, the crumble is, again, it's the mindset of how we really should approach this thing. And we don't want to prepare out of fear, and we don't want to prepare out of paranoia. We want to prepare for love. We want to prepare for the love of our family and our friends and our community and the human race in general. And we want to be the lights that, sort of to keep the flames of civilization and knowledge burning during these difficult times that are coming. So we want to think about it that way, and I think if you talk to a lot of these hardcore preppers, and I think society has a certain image of these guys, and a lot of them are guys, got a lot of guns, a lot of ammo, MREs, they've got all this kind of stuff, but I think if you really talk to one of those guys, and I have a couple of times, you'll find out that not only do they have MREs and ammo, but they have a beautiful family that they love more than anything in the world, and that's the reason they do it, is because it's out of love, so that's the way we want to think about it. Now, of course, in keeping with that, continue to do what you're already doing. And I know a lot of you guys are already awake to this concept, so, and some of you guys are doing organic farming, and some of you guys are doing, you're making things, furniture and all this kind of cool stuff. So continue on in that vein. But, the skills that you are learning, make sure that they're fun for you. Make sure it's something that you really find personally rewarding. And I've got a fun example that I'll show you. A couple years ago, I got into carving. I got into carving pieces of firewood. And, I'm not that great. I'll be the first to admit that I'm not that good yet. But it's been a lot of fun for me. It's been very personally rewarding to do during the, sort of the winter months. And you can do it with just a hand tool. A few different, maybe 3 or 4 different hand tools, and you can learn how to do this, and it's fairly easy to learn. Let's see, I also did a Santa Claus, which, I'm not quite done with this yet. But, of course, I'm not saying you have to start carving to prepare for the crumble, but that's an example. Do something that you find fun, that is something that's in that vein, something that we can really use. The next thing in preparation for the crumble is continue to read and continue to learn. And with After the Crumble, I tried to start that conversation about, like I said, the world as we see it over the next 20, 30 years. And I have a couple of books that I would consider to be companion volumes that are nonfiction, that would be companions to After the Crumble. The first one is called The Long Descent. It's by John Michael Greer. He actually lives in Cumberland, Maryland. Very, very smart guy, and he's written some fiction as well, which I would recommend. And this is a great sort of nonfiction look. The Long Descent is another word for the crumble. He's talking about exactly those same issues. And we'll talk a little bit more about Greer here in a second. Now, the second author that I would recommend, and like I said, After the Crumble Legends will be coming out in fall 2015, so make sure that you buy that. But until then, you can really look into these books, and I think they'll help you think about this kind of stuff. And my friend TJ once said, if the enemy is not identifiable, the enemy is not conquerable. And that's true. We've got to know what we're dealing with. And the more that we know about this situation, the better we're going to be able to adapt to it and to prepare for it. This is one of my favorites, The Long Emergency by James Howard Kunstler. And this guy is a giant in the slow collapse movement, and I would call him the godfather of the slow collapse movement. And this is nonfiction, and Kunstler actually has written some fiction as well. And I'm very proud to call him a friend and a mentor. He and I actually correspond through email and have been doing that for quite some time. And he's given me some great advice, and he's been a good friend to me. So, this book is really the one that woke me up. Maybe 2006, 2005. This really woke me up to the concept of what we're dealing with. And then you read this thing and it's very clear, it's very concise, and it just really breaks down the whole situation for you. Fiction-wise, Kunstler has written a series called The World Made by Hand, and this is the first one. And this, it's beautifully written. The way that it's written, he's a different writer than I am, obviously, and the way that it's written, you can just sink your teeth into every paragraph. Like, it's just richly and just beautifully written, beautiful prose. So I would recommend this. I think he's on number 3 in this series, and he's still going with it. And this is based in a time kind of similar to The Crumble. It's a few years in the future, and it's sort of a similar situation. It's looking at what he believes that life is going to be like during those times. So keep reading, keep learning. And I said earlier, the Crumble heads, and I really believe this, that we're going to be some of the people that keep the flames of knowledge and civilization and freedom burning during these times. And, there's some things that are unfortunately being forgotten. Certain things that humanity knew how to do very well in the past. And we are going to need those skills again in the future. So when we talk about hobbies and things like that, there's 7 sustainable technologies that we can try to orient towards. And these were written by John Michael Greer, the guy I talked about earlier. And, you can find it if you Google John Michael Greer 7 Sustainable Technologies, you'll find this. Organic intensive gardening, solar thermal technologies, sustainable wood heating, sustainable healthcare, letterpress printing and its related technologies, low-tech shortwave radio, and computer-free mathematics. And I'm trying to keep this video fairly short, but I could talk about each one of those and how fascinating and interesting each one of those is. And I'll just pick one, my favorite, organic intensive gardening. And now we finally have the knowledge, and we've codified the knowledge of how to farm off of the land without destroying the land in the process. Even slowly, like some of the previous civilizations have done. We really know how to maintain the nutrients in the soil, and we understand the balance through science now. And that's what I've been trying to do in my own life, is I've been trying to, learn how to farm in this sort of correct way, in the way that you can balance. I can farm the way that I farmed for 200 years on this land. At least that's the idea. And it was difficult and very challenging when I started, and every year I get better and I try harder. And it's been extremely rewarding to do that. So I would encourage you, maybe I'll post a link on the Facebook page of these 7 sustainable technologies, because it's really interesting to think about that. Our civilization doesn't have to fall if we are able to remember this knowledge and we're able to maintain this knowledge. That we'll be able to do a lot of things without having to depend on this cheap energy that we've had for so long. So talking about keeping the flames of knowledge burning and all of that, the next thing goes right into it. In that, teach what you have learned, and I've been trying to do that through the book and in my regular life too. Anything that you've learned, teach it. But that comes with a caveat. This knowledge, when you read this nonfiction, you read these books, you read After the Crumble, and you start thinking about it, and sometimes it can take over your mind to a certain extent, and it can be very heady stuff, this knowledge of what's going on. And don't try to push it on people that aren't ready for it. That's my advice. When I first started learning about this stuff, I became slightly obsessed with it, and I got to the point where I would have a hard time talking to people as close friends if they didn't agree with me about what was happening. And what I would say is that the human brain is a funny thing, and sometimes people don't really like to think about these issues. So don't push it on people that aren't ready for it, but the people that are ready for it, teach them. And the people that are not ready for it, don't blame them. It's a funny thing how it works. So that would be my caveat to that. But teach as many people as you can, and spread the word. So those are a list of things that I believe that will propel us forward in starting to think about the crumble and how to prepare for it and all of that. So thank you guys very much for watching, and we'll talk to you again soon. Thanks.